Hey y'all.
Hi.
Hey,
It is a day.
it is.
A Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
It is a Sunday.
It is a sun day.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sun out. Look at that pun. It was unseasonably warm the other day, and I was like, Victor, is that?
I know. Yesterday it was kind of hot.
Yeah. So we're episode 24, and today happens to also be the 3rd anniversary of Sydney Mikayla, our fave, on General Hospital. So I thought it would be like, how are you doing? And let's like talk about our fave Sydney scenes from the very beginning. 3 years. Sandra, what's your fave?
Oh my!
Doing, and what's your fave Sydney scene?
I mean, I'm doing great on this day. That is a day that is Sydney's 3rd anniversary at GH. This is, I can't say that I have a favorite because that's just like choosing between my children, if all of Sydney's scenes are my children. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go with Sydney or Trina and Portia being held hostage by Cyrus. Both because we got like Portia and Trina magic. And I just loved how it was like someone actually just posted a clip of this morning, so it's very fresh in my mind. But where Portia's like doing surgery on his gunshot wound, and like Trina's like adjusting the light or shining the light so she can have a better look, and she's just like, my mom could just kill you. She could just nick the wrong artery. And Cyrus is like, yeah, she's not going to do that because she's I know that Portia has taken her oath seriously. The reason I have my gun is because of your ass. Like, he knew who the real threat in those scenes were. And I also just love those scenes because it demonstrated how well Sydney could hold her own with these actors, with these veteran actors. Of course, she has this wonderful, beautiful dynamic with Brooke that she continues to get to build on, but like she can hold her own with an actor like Jeff Kober, who is, wildly talented, and I imagine could be like an intimidating person to work with, as lovely of a person as we actually know that he is in real life.
Yeah, true. What about you, Tonya?
Just off the top of my head, I would have to say the scene that she had with Cameron when he was talking about how he was almost shot. I think it just really hit home. It was a little timely in the sense that she touched upon a topic where it was his privilege that allowed him to get away from it unscathed. And I like it when we as a community are able to speak, really touch on issues that are important to us. And so Sydney having that opportunity, I think she could have gone a lot further, but then that's not her, that's the writers. But for me, that was standout. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that was a really beautiful scene. Mm-hmm. I appreciated that William like just let her go. Mm-hmm. It could have been easy to like try to also have a moment, but you can tell the rapport between those actors is he's like, no, this is Sydney's moment. This is a thing that Trina needs to say, which was really great. Y'all picked really great scenes. I, on the other end, am very petty. And so my favorite was like her dressing down Spencer and Esme by the pool. Mm-hmm. I loved it because, like she was in it. It was the neck roll, the air grabbing, like voice inflections, the lean. Like I was just like 100% into the performance as it was happening. I was like, yeah, who the F is Lauren? Like, who is that? And I was like, Kiki, huh? Like, it was just that good. And then like, they walked away from the table and like had a little bit just like, you're not handsome. And we know that was acting. And so like then like the vulnerability on the other side of it instantly with her going to Josh like, ugh, like, you know, like I didn't know in the moment that's how she was feeling. That's how Trina was feeling. And so to like see the kind of like, oh yeah, I'm like a badass over here. I'm about to dress him and his girlfriend down. And now I gotta go talk to my bestie because that was a moment. It just really like showed like such a range for me and is like my favorite set of scenes for Sydney and for Trina.
Love it.
Love her.
Happy anniversary, Sydney.
Happy anniversary.
There's too many more.
Yes. Yeah, so let's get into this recap, which is, you know, snapshot. So forgive me again.
Never. I'll never forgive you because there's nothing to forgive.
Thank you. Thank you for that affirmation. We all actually need that. No, let me not get deep. But say, like, we all actually need that affirmation. Like, we should write that down. Yes. All right, here we go. We pick back up at Terry's date with Tanner at Charlie's. While Terry is annoyed, snarky, and fabulous, Tanner is annoying and extra in all of the bad ways that extra can be. Chet overhears, and once he's had enough, he swoops in as Terry's pretend boyfriend to save her. Once Tanner leaves, Chet and Terry, or should I say Cherry, continue the evening together. And I'm hoping this is the beginning of more evenings together for them.
Point out that I'm wearing teal.
Hey, because you know what teal is.
That's all. That's all.
Also at Charlie's are Nina and Sunny, who talk about their boat sex and what it means for Sunny's marriage. Carly steps out with Felix and they head to the Savoy where they run into Britt and Brad. A ringless Carly and Britt call a temp truce and drink together. Carly meets with the divorce attorney, and while she wants to go quick and easy on Sunny, she decides she wants to go to war with Nina, which who thought that was a story that anyone wants to see? Anyway, both Michael and Josh find out about the affairs and are furious with Sunny. Carly tells Sunny there's nothing he can say. She's moving forward with the divorce. At the hospital, Nina and Britt find out that Austin and Liesl put a bug on Victor. Britt also warns Nina about making an enemy out of Carly, but also affirms to Nina that she's on her side. Drew and Sam search for clues about Maxie at the dock when Victor shows up. Victor tries to activate Drew with his tarot card, but finds out that he's been double-crossed by Peter yet again. Double, triple, quadruple. I can't really keep up with how many times that Peter has crossed Victor, but he has crossed him yet again. BLQ and Chase give Wheezy back to Felicia, which lasts for about half a day because interrupting another near chilling kiss, Felicia brings back Wheezy and says she can stay with them until Maxie gets home. Spinelli must not have been available. Anna and Finn share a moment together when they talk about their relationship and the ways that each of them are moving on. Anna assures Finn that whoever was involved in helping him with pushing Peter down the stairs in the aftermath is also under her protection. Yet another reason why it was so dumb that they waited so long to tell Anna in the first place. Liz gets a jarring sympathy card on the anniversary of Franco's death from a mysterious B, and it throws her for a loop. I'm hoping it's Beth or Biz or one of the alters. Maxie's in Switzerland with Peter. She leaves her earring and a note to call Anna at a rest stop. Everybody needs to make sure that Anna is one of the numbers they know by heart. Anna, Dante, and Drew head to the WSB to find her. Anna basically told Felicia that she would be in the way and told her to stay home. Of course, Felicia did not listen and booked her own flight and heads out alone. At the WSB, as Anna, Dante, and Drew get closer to finding Maxie, we see Victor has a man on the inside and he does not want Drew to be killed because Drew is too valuable. In boring news, Curtis and Portia decide to move in together. We also have a Molly and TJ sighting. So I do want to say that I definitely think that Molly and TJ have more Kim than Curtis and Portia and are not like boring people, but that their couple is kind of boring because they're not used. Laura calls Trina over to give her a gift that Spencer left for her. It's a book by her favorite impressionist, and Laura is very impressed and touched by how much Trina cares for Spencer. Esme arrives home to see them together after she left Springridge in a huff because Kevin took away her access to Ryan. Spencer is very popular in Camp Prison because he gets a visit from Laura and Victor. Victor presses Nicholas and Ava to let Spencer back into the family. Laura worries about the influence that Victor has on Spencer. All the while, it is very warm for February. More on birth certificate gate. We find out there is no record of Willow's birth anywhere in the state or the world. At the same time, Harmony tells Alexis that she isn't Willow's biological mother, and Willow bonds with Nina at the hospital over their dysfunctional family. That's the week, y'all.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. What did y'all think, and what were your favorite moments? Oh, I know what I can guess, but I want to know if my guesses are right about what y'all favorite moments are.
I want to know what you think my favorite moments are.
It's just in my head. I'm like, I think I know them, but y'all always do throw curveballs. Anyway, what did y'all think about the week? What's your favorite moment?
I think, well, I had a couple of favorite moments outside, and I still am undecided about performances, so I'll just talk about moments that I liked. I did enjoy Austin and Weasel working together. I did enjoy the scene between Anna and Finn, and we're probably going to talk about that a lot. And I enjoyed the scene between Michael and Sunny. Yeah, I felt that, well, I'll go into more detail as I talk about performances, but those are the things I enjoyed. I also enjoyed the fact that, you know, Maxie was putting in clues. I thought she was being very creative and level-headed, given that she's being kidnapped and really trying to lead Anna to her. But it wasn't necessarily a performance per se, but just loved her actions in that storyline. Yeah, but the week was okay. Still not feeling sweepy. Still feeling like, you know, Swiffer sweep. It's not, you know, grandma's broom where she gets on her hands and knees and mops after. No.
So. Not that. It's not where they be like, you can't get swept by this broom on your feet because it's bad luck. It ain't that kind of broom. It's not that kind of stuff.
No. That's it right there. I felt like plot wise, no, it was not a great week. There wasn't a lot of plot that moved, and I didn't feel swept. However, I enjoyed the week from like a character and performance perspective. Like, I think, so I want to give props to GH for that, because usually it's the other way around. Usually there's a lot of plot moving, but the character stuff doesn't make sense. And so I would rather them prioritize actually like good character moments over plot, even though it sweeps, because if your plot has to be like everyone acting weird and out of character, it's not that good. It's not a good plot. But that's a whole other rant.
For that, scream that shit from the rooftop. I'm so tired of it.
It's so bad. So it to me, it felt like a good course correction to actually have some good plot, like character moments, like what, you know, Tonya, what you named around Maxie finally being smart. We actually know Maxie is generally a smart character, even though she makes dumb decisions sometimes. She actually has great instincts, and she's like quick on her feet. So it was good to finally see Maxie be smart. But yeah, so there's things like that where I'm like, finally we see, you know, some of the stuff around like Carson moving in ways that feel character driven, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, what my favorite moment is no surprise, it was Laura and Trina. It was so sweet, first of all. How much goodness can you have in one room? Like, these are two of the most kind of like universally beloved characters. I think something that both Laura and Trina have in common is that they are so good without being sickeningly sweet. Like, they're so good, but they're badasses, they have their edge, and you always want to root for them. And Sprina fans have been waiting for a Laura Trina scene like in this arc for a while. Like, we remember Laura actually traded her life for Trina's when she was being held hostage by Cyrus. And they've had lots of really sweet moments. Like, there was a moment when they first met and Laura was trying to get the
codicil.
The codicil from Helena's painting, and Trina actually like helps create a distraction that blocks Valentine. So there's like this moment too where it's like, oh, when we went back and watched that scene, I was like, oh, Trina's been helping Spencer for a long time without even knowing it. But what I really loved was getting to see Trina process some of her feelings about Spencer, kind of tell on herself a little bit to Laura. And also for Laura to get to witness that someone else sees what she sees in Spencer. And then they get to bond over both wanting Spencer to, knowing Spencer needs to do better and knowing that he can and he already is. And I think that's really important because Laura, for the longest time, has been the only kind of consistent nurturing figure in Spencer's life. And so for her to see that Trina also sees all the best things in Spencer that Laura has helped to nurture over the years was so moving. And I loved when I just loved the way Sydney just completely lit up. It felt so natural. And I loved Laura watching her and kind of being like, oh, I don't mean to pry. I definitely mean to pry. It was just a moment that I kept rewatching and appreciating, both as a fan of the couple, but also as a understanding the historical significance of Laura and what it means for her and her relationship with Spencer. And so as both a fan of the couple and also as a fan of this family, it was a really special moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think it also really sets up this devil and angel on Spencer's shoulder with the alignment of Esme and Victor and the alignment of Trina and Laura being these balances for him. And also there are actually reasons for him to be with both. And both of those things are important and have been there for him. We know Esme's shady, but how would he know? She has been there for him and everything he's wanted to do. Victor is the reason he didn't go to Pentonville, all of that. I'm sorry, Tonya, this looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, yes, actually, that was one of my favorite scenes too. And I totally forgot about it and I feel horrible, but just a lot going on this week. But yeah, that was really one of my favorite. And actually, it ties to one of the things I'm a little disappointed about, and that Laura or the writers didn't really talk too much about it when Laura went to visit Spencer in prison. That Friday, Friday, she went to prison, and that Friday, actually, the show got preempted for me, the beginning. I guess the president was talking about something. But so I had to rewatch it on Hulu. I don't think she spent too much time on it. I wanted her to be like, oh yeah, and Sabrina loved, your gift, and what is your relation? Do you like? I wanted her to probe. I wanted her to have a real conversation about Trina versus Esme. And it seemed, as soon as he started talking about Victor, it was just all doom gloom Victor. And so that was disappointing to me that the conversation was more about Victor than it was about Trina and Esme.
Yeah. I had two standout moments. I'll hold one for standout performance, but I really loved the scene between Laura and Spencer, actually. I definitely wanted more Trina, but what I really appreciated was him, and a line that, like, what has stuck with me is the line of thinking that he had around Nicholas, like, basically fucking over every other, like, person he's loved in his life, like Hayden and Britt, and like keeping Ava. Because I know that there's a lot said about like Spencer being a brat, you know, obviously I'm an apologist, but I think that that gets dropped a lot, of like how cruel Nicholas has been, not necessarily just directly to Spencer, but around Spencer, and that cruelty impacts Spencer. We're so used to like soap characters just like doing wild stuff and it not having these direct impacts on their kids, especially like their teenage kids. So like there's no mention of the fact that like Carly and Elizabeth have always had a long-standing beef and like the chaos relationship. Like that's not ever mentioned. But with Nicholas, Spencer and Nicholas have been so intertwined that all of Nicholas's bad behavior has had direct impacts on Spencer. And so the kind of taking aback that Laura had to do to like see who her son was in a way that I think that she hasn't really dealt with since she forgave him for faking his death. And the difference between Laura and Nicholas's history that allows her to forgive him in a way that does not allow Spencer to do the same thing. And so I felt, as I was saying, like this kind of devil angel on his shoulder. Spencer made some really great points. She was like, your uncle tried to take over the world. He was like, well, you know, family first. Like, you know, it makes sense that Spencer would feel that way as a kid who had been abandoned, as somebody who's never had a mom. Like, it makes sense that he is drawn to someone who will put their family first, even if he's done like evil deeds. So I just felt like that was a really good setup for where Spencer's arc is going, and what we're going to see after he gets out of Springridge, and like what relationship he's going to have with Victor.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one of the best things about this like Nicholas Chavez's take on Spencer is that it's like really, really psychological. Like it feels very grounded in abandonment, right? We've talked about this before, and like what the actual impact that has on children and how it affects their behavior as adults. And I think that doesn't, a lot of the characters don't get that treatment because it's a soap and everyone's parents have done like wild shit or haven't been around for whatever reason, or if, you know, all the kids have had parents either die or like fake their deaths, right? But with Spencer, you really see the impact over time of like his childhood. And I loved your point about Laura and why she is able to apologize for Nicholas.
Yep. Speaking of these performances, who is our performer of the week, Tonya?
It was so hard for me because the week was just kind of so I would have to say, so here are my top performances. So definite, and I'll start off with, you know, Michael and Sunny. I think it was a top performance for me because I think Michael, more than Carly, has really just yelled at Sunny more than anybody over this Nina issue. And when he was just like, how could you be so stupid? I was like, so that got a reaction out of me, because then I was immediately thinking, oh, my mama would have snatched my wig. And then Sunny was like, hold up. I was like, you know, so that was just like, that was a real thing, because it takes a lot to come at your parent over their bad behavior. it's really, it really takes a lot, especially if you kind of grew up in a somewhat strict family. And you know, Michael didn't really grow up in a strict family, but just coming at your parent and telling them, someone who you admire supposedly, just, you know, to tell them that they did something really horrible and bad. And Michael's only done that once before with Sonny, over Avery and the murder of his dad. I mean, he should really be yelling at Sonny a lot. But he doesn't. And so
That's
it
my
really,
favorite Michael.
yeah. Oh my God. On Facebook, there's this page called GH Snark. It's hilarious. I wish I could screenshot you the comments, but the GH Snark person was saying that, you know, Michael has the redheaded Michael was a Michael to be reckoned with. The current Michael is a spoiled, privileged white kid, you know. And so, but still, it felt like it took a lot for him to do that, and, you know, call him stupid, and then Sonny chin checked him, but was like, you know, hold on. And still, even after that, Sonny was still thinking that, you know, he's still in the right. But anyway, the performance was really good for me, those brief moments, and I enjoyed that. And it was, I don't know, it was the first time. I think Michael was a little upset after the courtroom scenes with Scotty Baldwin, but everyone gets mad at Scotty Baldwin, so it's no big deal. So I thought that was really top. Also, you know, love the scenes, love the scenes with Laura and Trina. But I think we would all agree that the scenes between Anna and Finn were pretty great. And it just reminded us about why Finn and Anna are so good together. Anna just, you know, Anna just makes Finn better as a character. I guess he kind of, you know, lightens up, and, you know, he opens himself up to her emotionally. He hasn't really done that with Elizabeth, and I think there was a lot on social media, a lot of comparisons between, you know, Finn and Elizabeth and Finn and Anna. But I mean, I personally want Anna to be with Valentine, but it shows how good she is with everyone that she has chemistry with. And so really enjoy the scenes. And so I just want to give, you know, props to them, to both of them. And Michael Easton, I think you deserve, I'm sorry, but you deserve a better relationship. You're not in a great one right now. So here's hoping the writers can, you know, juice it up a little bit, or finding someone more compatible, because Elizabeth is not right now. Sorry.
Yep.
I don't see why you're apologizing. That relationship, I don't even understand as a fan, if you were a fan of Liz, I'm not, but if you were a fan of Liz, why you would ever want to compare her to Finola. Like, I just would never do that. Like, Sam is my girl. I'm not putting Sam up against Anna. You just can't compete where you can't compare. I'm not doing it.
They're not in the same category.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
But
I definitely agree. You know, Finola's scenes resonated with me so much. The line about being like alone but not lonely was just, I think soaps are so driven by relationship that we don't get to see people being like badasses. But I think that like you can ship all of Anna's relationships, because we do, right? Like we're like Vanna, like when she's with Robert, we're like, oh, this is sweet. Like everything is like good with her because she's just that good. But I also ship Anna with her career, and I think Anna does too. And I think that's also like why Vanna is so important to me, because I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is where she can be herself. And there's this push and pull, I think, between like the settling down that some people want for Anna, and like the comfort and the stability of like having the home that some people like want for themselves and like Anna deserves, versus like what she wants for herself. And so I really resonated with her just being like, I'm good, actually. No matter what happens, no matter what relationship I'm in, no matter who I'm with, who I'm dating, like I'm gonna be good. And I think that all of us, like we're like people who work and do so much. And I don't know what your family thinks like you do for work. We had like this joke, like my family has no idea what I do. But they know that like I drop in when I drop in, and like when I do, they're happy to see me. And I feel that same vibe for Anna. And that's why like I vibe with her so much, you know, as an adult, which is different than I did when I was like a college student when I was introduced to Anna Devane. So I just felt like the, you know, the vulnerability that she played out, with also like letting you know that her vulnerability is like part of her being a badass, was really important and really made that scene for me, for her.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just no one, there really isn't another character like Anna on soaps. I mean, she is just kind of like her own category, right? She has all of these popular pairings that have been like wildly successful. And she's also had long periods of time of not being in a pairing, right? Like after Duke died again, she was not paired off. I mean, she would have like tension like with Andre, but you know, she didn't really get back into a pairing again until Fana. And it was like really like the right pairing. I think Tracey, you've talked about this before, for where she was in her life then. And then when Violet got introduced into their dynamic, I mean, there was already tension between Fana about Anna's presence and how she was frequently off on capers and sometimes having to rescue Finn, which was always my favorite dynamic for them. I love like damsel in distress Finn. But when Violet was introduced into the picture, of course, like Anna loved her and was like, you know, such a wonderful and continues to be such a wonderful mother figure for her. And it did heighten the contrast in their relationship and like really show where they weren't actually that compatible. And what I liked about this scene is that it really drove home that that's what was the issue in their relationship, was compatibility, not Anna messing things up, which was like the narrative after, which just, you know, drove me fucking bonkers. And I did notice while I was watching, I was like, every time it was like Anna getting emotional, I was getting emotional, but every time Finn talked, I was like, yeah. So I was definitely having those Anna, I'm Anna's crazy friend vibes again, where I was just like, you know, Finn, when y'all were together, I was rooting for you. I'm not rooting for you anymore, and you need to make this up to me personally. And also that just speaks to the power of their relationship, how I was invested in it and how I still have residual feelings about it, even though I'm like 100% on the Vanna ship, obviously. And I think another thing, even though there was some Vanna like fan friction around that line of like, I'm alone, but I'm not lonely.
Yeah, I had that because I was just like, well, actually, that's one of my criticisms for the week. Where is Valentine? I know he's out, you know, the actor's out there doing his thing, but I was just like, where is Valentine? Because she's not alone.
Well, she's not. Here's the thing about that line is that there are like different layers to that line.
Right.
There is like her, she is technically alone. She's not coupled, right? Like there's that layer of it. Like she's not officially with Valentine. And that was also like, that was a plot point, right? Like they haven't had they've actually really intentionally not defined their relationship, and they keep calling each other friends. And so there's that. And I think in there's an acknowledgement of the relation. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely, right? There are people in her life. Then there's like the layer of like, I'm alone, but I'm not lonely, in that like I'm alone and I am with myself, so I'm not lonely. But I think the other layer of that I thought was really interesting was she lying to herself a little bit? Right? Because she did get emotional, right? Talking about this life with Finn and Violet that she doesn't have anymore. And so I actually think that all three layers to that line are 100% true, right? That she has Valentine, that she doesn't need anyone because she has her relationship with herself, and also she is lonely. right? And that she's like being a little dishonest too. So that would be my like reframe of that line, is that all of the interpretations are true, and that's why Finola is like in a whole other class from like, I would say, even like if we were to take this out of the context of daytime, right?
Mm.
Like she's just royalty.
And in that performance, just for technicality, I would definitely give it to Finola versus Michael Easton, because I mean she just went through a whole range of emotions, sadness, enjoying her independence, laughter. She can laugh at herself, she can laugh at, Finn. And so, technically wise, I mean, it was great. It was spot on. So yeah. Let me amend that. No, I love you, Michael Easton. I'm gonna give it to Finola.
Yeah, I think that, Michael Easton played his part in the very same ways that other people who like let their scene partners shine play their parts.
Right.
And I think that GH has like, we have seen that with like some of the men on screen to be like very generous with their, like we've like noted it, like Spencer being really generous with Trina, letting her shine, like Michael Easton being very like same with Finola. We talked about it with like Johnny Wachter and Sophia, like where these men like will say, I'm not going to try to outact or match because like the power of the scene is in this woman's point of view. And that's like definitely an intentional acting choice from their scene partners. And so I think Finn did what he was supposed to do. He like was kind of like the rock while Finola was able, or, while Anna was able to like go through what she needed to go through. And so we like got into like a space, like Twitter space, just to talk about it. I think, Anna fans are like the historians of the timeline, I like to say. If I have a question about what the order of something that happened, like they always know. I also feel like even though I've been watching Anna for like 20 years, I can't quite call myself like part of the fandom yet, because I'm like a pledging the fandom. These are like big sisters, you know what I mean? And so Jen had like a space, and it was just, like a place for Anna fans to come and talk. And then Finola like hopped in, and everybody was on their best behavior because, like it was about to be slander everywhere of other characters. And we were just like, it was silent. We were just, but like she took us through the process of this scene. And so we found out like that it was only one take. And she was like emotional talking about it. And she was so happy that it resonated so much with fans. And I was like, this is like the difference between being like great and being phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like being able to like not only give that performance, but like care about that performance so much and care about how it impacts us. So, I mean, for me, like I said, just please don't compare other people to Finola. Just don't do it. It's embarrassing for everyone involved, except for Finola. It's embarrassing for me to watch. You know what I mean? Like, just let Finola be Finola, say she's your fave, and then let's just go from there.
Great advice. Generous advice, if you will.
So in that vein, what do you want to see more of?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Cherry. I want to see more of Chet and Terry. And there's like a few reasons why like I loved their scenes in particular. I mean, first of all, there was just this fun, flirty rom-com feel that this show just desperately needs. Like, desperately needs some levity, desperately needs just like something that is light and also but still substantive, like still feels like something you can sink your teeth into. And when I first like saw that it was going to be Chet, I was like, oh, this is interesting. We haven't seen Chet in a while. But what I noticed is that his performance was so much better than previous performances we've had from him. Because we know like Chris Van Etten, who all has the same name as one of the co-head writers, but is not actually the same person. He, I don't think was an actor going in, or he didn't have very much experience going into his role. And so I can just tell I think he's both seems more experienced and more comfortable in front of the camera. And also there's something about the chemistry between him and Cassandra James that I thought was so refreshing. It was like sexy and playful and like smart. Like that they were really connecting both like physically, intellectually, like they were vibing with each other. And it wasn't overly played. It felt very natural, very subtle. And that's not, subtle and natural is not always what I would have associated with his performances in the past, right? And so I thought she brought out wonderful things in him. And I also just like, I loved that it was so affirming, right? It was the date that Terry was actually on was a fucking nightmare. But I think there was a lot of nervousness around how GH was going to handle a trans romance. And I really appreciated that it really went in the direction of just like affirmation, right? Like trans people deserve romance just like anyone else does. And we don't have to make it about this really deep political message, which is actually like GH is not the platform for that. And so I appreciated that. What I got from it was just like Terry deserves romance, period. And I also really actually loved the Asian representation piece. Okay, first of all, I have been on this date. I have been on this date multiple times. I've had this conversation endless times with this particular kind of guy. I'm sorry, it's true. I'm gonna have to come out and say it. And I think in particular, the dynamic of being like an Asian woman or an Asian femme, right? And being on a date with like a like crunchy white dude who's like into like Eastern philosophy, right? And this is someone who's like, I'm like a trained herbalist, right? And like I'm like all these things, right? I have like my questions about like the medical industrial complex, capitalism, whatever. But like this particular guy, I was just like, oh God. When he started talking about the Eastern medicine shit, and she was like, you know, I'm an Asian doctor, right? It killed me. And I think it was a really great example of what we were talking about last week about specificity of experience, right? Like y'all may not have like picked up on that particular line, but you picked up on the authenticity of the experience that she was having. But I was definitely like, oh, Terry, I see you. I see you and I feel for you. And so when Chet intervened the way that he did, it also like was like strangely healing. Like he didn't come in and like lecture. He like came in really like lightly and like collaborated with her, and they had this like funny moment. There were just so many beats that they hit out of the park. And I also really loved their background acting because, you know, I really did not care for the Sunny Nina scene, so no surprise there. But I found myself to distract myself intentionally. They weren't being distracting. I was watching Chet and Terry in the background, and they were just so on point. Like from Terry kind of like, you know, gazing at him as she's on her date, him, the way, you know, like the shots of him like listening to their date and trying to figure out like, should I intervene here? Like, is it my place? I was surprised at how much I loved it and what it brought to the Valentine's Day episode, which I was actually surprised that I liked the second Valentine's Day episode, but I want more cherry, please. More cherry.
I was just saying yikes that you had to experience that. Not that you were talking about it. I was like, damn, I'm sad that this happened to you more than once.
Well, you know, it reminds me of too, like when I, for example, will go to the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco and me like intentionally avoiding couples where it's like an Asian woman and a white man, where they're like, I have just overheard so many conversations of like white men explaining Asian culture to Asian women that like I was like, I need a day. Can there be a day at the museum where that's just banned? You know, like where we don't have to like, I don't have to like maneuver like this. So it's deep. I have many other examples, but I won't go into it.
I mean, not even a day at a museum. Can we just have a day where white people aren't explaining to other people of color what their life should be like or is? Stay in your lane, because it's not in ours. You don't know. Sorry, let me stop.
What
Please don't ever apologize.
Every day.
I'm just like all the time, just telling us how things. Oh.
Yep. Someone was like talking about how race doesn't play a factor in Sprina and people should just, and I was like, thank you, white man. I really appreciate your insight. It's so valuable.
God.
So anyway, it's, if you didn't know, I was being facetious. It's about as valuable as Bitcoin, which I don't know how to use. So anyway,
or this whole NFT, what the hell? I don't even know what that is.
Sorry. It's as valuable as an NFT profile picture on Twitter, which they keep trying to make me do.
Right.
What do I want to see more of? It was I, no surprise, just want to see more Cassadine shit. I want more Spencer kind of like going off on Nicholas. I thought it was like really interesting to see Victor kind of like take it to Ava and Nicholas, because like the thing about Victor is he's not right, but he's not wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing, even when he was like talking to Spencer and he was like, I'm gonna change. He's like, I'm gonna change people's perception of me. Like, let's be clear, I'm not changing, but like it was just
I changed their perception. That's it.
It was so much Victor and I loved every beat of it. Like there's just like no Victor I don't love every time he shows up. So I just want to see more of that. I think to Sandra's point, like we've been really seeing like character driven stuff, and I am okay with that. Because if I would much rather see character development, relationship building than just like trying to push along plot that doesn't make any sense. And I think the Cassadine storylines have done a really, really great job of building on that. When Victor was like talking to Sam, he was like, I left a couple messages for you. She was like, whatever, Victor. Like I really enjoyed that. When Spencer, like that foreshadowing was like, they want me to forget that, but I have not, or I won't, about his relationship with Victor, like super important and like giving you a peek at what's to come. And I don't think any other storyline is doing it like that. Like we're not getting, it's good right now and it continues to build and give us that peek of what's to come next for them. And I thought the line about not wanting to like have like her Ava about not putting the mischievous prince in the tower. I was like, I don't know if what he did could be mischievous. Sure, we can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm sure Ava felt it was more than that. But like remembering, like y'all are trying to parent him through jail. And that's, you know, I'm always like, how do I balance like my personal politics with like jail shouldn't exist versus like watching the show? But like talking about how he was wrong or what he did, I'm like, Spencer's actually not even worried about y'all anymore. Like the reason that he did all of this shit is because he thought his dad was like a really good person that he had to save from Ava. And now he's really fucking clear about who his dad is. So he actually just doesn't want to be a part of your life. And it's just like this back and forth of trying to understand like what Nicholas even wants. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be in a relationship with him or do you not? As long as it's Marcus, I'm fine with him not being in a relationship with him. Bring him his real dad back. Tyler. Anyway, Tonya.
There's a lot I want to see more of. One, I actually am looking forward to Carly's revenge. I am looking forward to, because she's kind of held back because people were like, well, Sunny was trying to be like, leave Nina alone. It's over. Nothing here, nothing to see here. And he, lied and basically was like, yeah, there's a lot to see here. And Carly saw a lot. So I cannot wait. I'm glad that she's kind of told the lawyer to, focus on Nina a little bit or what she would like to see. And so I'm looking forward to that dragging. I hope it's more than like it's first start off with kicking her out of the hotel, having her try to find a new office for Crimson. Secondly, just going off. I that's the first. So I can't wait to see that. I know there's a lot of people who just are sick of Carly, but no, I can't wait to see her get her life back together and dragging Nina for the filth that she is. And so I can't wait to see it. And I loved one scene I did love. I loved seeing Britt and Carly get drunk. It was hilarious. It was refreshing. They weren't like even, it wasn't like they were the best of friends getting drunk together because they were still arguing with each other. But it was a moment of levity that I enjoyed a lot. And I want to see her do more of that. I want her to go out again. I still want her to sleep with Trace. And I want her to have a good time being single. She ain't got to be in a relationship. She can be in situationships and go, like, her main priority is to drag Nina and have a good time and be beautiful and fabulous while doing it.
Because she did kill it in that dress. Even when Britt was like talking to Nina, she's like, Carly should have dressed to kill. I'm like, damn, that's not what I want to hear about the. Why you gonna say that, Britt?
Britt is, she's either lying or she's pathologically honest.
Right.
Either or, nothing in between.
Yeah.
You said you had a bunch. What else do you want to see more of, Cheyenne?
Well, definitely I want to see more of Trina and Laura. Thought that was great. As I go, like, I see him and then then when it's my turn I forget. Oh, where's Valentine? That's what I want to see. Here's the thing. Even though I know he's not on the set, there are multiple ways where he can be included in the conversation. That whole scene where they're trying to track down Maxie, Valentine could have told him because he knew that Pete, I'm gonna keep calling him Pete, went to boarding school and he knew about all that experience. If somebody had called him up, maybe Anna was like, hey, I'm about to go on this trip, what can you tell me what you know about Peter and all this? He could have told her all of that. And then you have 3 different people trying to remember the salient fact. And I was like, it was a waste of time and energy. Valentine could have told him, like, look, he had this, favorite spot in Switzerland. Go there. He's probably there. Just lots of different ways that he could have been inserted into, the story where I felt like he was really missing. And so I want him back. Come back, JSP. Come back.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's not gonna be a part of the ultimate Peter showdown this week.
Yeah, because it was like such a big deal. Like when Anna and Valentine were working together. I mean, they kept talking about it. Okay, so like we're gonna kill him, right? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take him down. And now he's not part of that action, and I feel horrible.
But you know what? JPS probably doesn't.
I know he's probably having a great time in his new,
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's having a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we miss you, James Patrick.
We do.
I love guys that have 2 names. What do you want to see less of?
Yeah. I want to see less of telling me without showing me. right? Like, so the show is doing a lot of this, like, this person's really smart. So like we talked about this with Maxie, right? Like, we have actually seen Maxie be fucking dumb for like 2 years now. Like, it's been ridiculous. And so finally we're seeing her like have some smarts, think on her feet, like be able to pivot. I actually wish they would have shown or like talked a little bit more about Peter's obsession with her kind of being his Achilles heel, and her like exploiting that. Like, you know, show me and tell me that Maxie like has returned to some smarts, because Kristen definitely deserves it after they had her acting like this for the last couple of years. But specifically around Sunny, I'm actually really annoyed with everybody telling me how different Sunny is. Let me just go through it. What we've seen since Sunny's gotten back to Port Charles is him ordering a hit. It was botched, but it was ordered on Peter. We've seen him run up on Nicholas and threaten him without all the facts while Spencer was on the other side of the door. So he's about to get Nicholas beat up at his house, and then didn't apologize as he was leaving. He apologized to he thanked Trina, which is one of my favorite things of all time, but he did not apologize. He has been lying, gaslighting, cheating, drinking, not taking his meds, fighting in a bar. What's different? Quit telling me this man is different. This is Sunny. Even the idea of like when Ava and Sandra got mad at me because I was like annoyed with Ava. She was like, don't be annoyed with Ava over Carly. I was like, no, I'm gonna be annoyed with Ava over Carly. Because I think that like Sunny has done, I don't need Ava to like Carly. That's not what I'm saying. I actually really enjoy their rivalry. But I needed to also be like that same energy, if not increased energy, for Sunny. Because so much of the rivalry, like people put it back on Avery. And the person that keeps Sunny or keeps her from Avery is Sunny. That is who her agreement is with.
Right.
Even when Sunny was like fake dead, she went and got her baby. She was like, oh, well, my agreement was with dead ass Sunny, so bye. And I loved it. And I wish that dead ass Sunny wouldn't have ever got that baby back. Or that they would have had to like go back to court and like relitigate. Everybody want to like talk about all these other court things that are fake or real. They should have go back to court to relitigate whether or not Ava should have Avery, because if she was good enough to have Avery when Sunny was fake dead, she's good enough to be her mom now.
Right.
In my opinion. I mean, I guess my opinion doesn't matter. I don't have no kids, but you know, like whatever. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. So when they had Ava be like, oh, you know, like I'm so happy because of Carly, like, no, I would have liked Ava, and she said a little bit of this, but like to be like, fuck both of them. Neither of them deserve to be happy. The dissolution of their marriage makes me happy because both of them have been whatever. But to kind of be like, I actually like the cattiness of that's not what I want to see. I actually hate Sunny, so I want everybody to be mad at Sunny. And this idea like, oh yeah, but he's different with Nina. Stop saying that dumb shit. Men are always different with their mistresses. If it wasn't a fantasy, men wouldn't cheat. It's not like men don't just cheat. Look, let me get on men don't just cheat for the sex. They cheat for the fantasy. They cheat because they don't have any commitments. They cheat because there's no strings attached with their fucking mistress. And so of course, if he's a little bit different, it's because she's his mistress. And we've seen several episodes of him actually not being different with Nina, which is why Sona fans are mad. I mean, I'm not a Sona fan, I can never, but that's why they're mad, because he's the same. That we've been sold this bill of goods that like Sunny is different, and look at how much he cares about Nina because he's Mike here. Sunny is fucking Sunny. Is a fuckboy is a fuckboy is a fuckboy by any other name. And Sunny Michael Corinthos is a fuckboy. A fuck man now, actually. I'm tired of people telling me he's different. He's not. He is the very same. He's actually worse. And part of what you said about Michael that I thought was interesting is, I know people hate Michael. I'm pretty neutral on him. I think, anyway, I have a lot of thoughts about Michael. Point is, I actually really liked him running up on Sunny, because people were like, oh, why would Michael say, if your dad cheated on your mom, you won't go say nothing?
Right.
With the woman who has like been gunning for your mom for a long time. Because let's also remember that Nina got Carly arrested over Nell. She busts up in Sonny's fake funeral, got Carly arrested. Like, their beef has been long-standing, and it's much more than Sonny. And so to pretend like this person who has like tried to do that, who you have then given all these chances to be around your kid. Anyway, Sonny, not shit. Michael, I understand why he was mad. And he probably also has been taught his whole life, loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. And then here go your daddy not being loyal.
Right. And there was some, social media talk about, Michael and Joss having no right to be all up in Carly and Sonny's marriage. I mean, like, what is that? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an adult or a child. It is your business that your dad is out there cheating and mistreating their mom. Any child will have something to say about that. Any adult should step in and be like checking their parent. Be like, don't do that to my mother. Don't disrespect my mother. Don't be cheating on my mother.
Publicly.
Publicly.
Saying that you still want to be with her, but then drinking at Charlie's with your mistress on Valentine's Day and introducing her around. Oh yeah, Chet, this is Nina. You don't know her? It's my, you know what she is. You know what this is. Mm-hmm. That was like, I'm gonna go.
Right here and catch you later. I mean, just there's a couple things I want to see less of. I definitely want to see less of Austin taking the blame for the shenanigans, because he did not tell Victor where he did not tell Victor where Weezy was, and he wasn't the one to tell Peter. Everyone is blaming him. It's not his fault. Stop it.
It's so wild, because all he did was explain to Victor basically what a patient ID is.
Right.
And that's actually something Victor could have figured out on his own, because it's literally in the name. Patient identification. How to identify a patient. That's it. Sorry, just had to.
No, it's true. It's right. It's ridiculous. It's a plot point, I think, to get Liesel and Austin together, but it's wrong, and they should stop. Also, again, Christina. Please bring Christina into this story. I'm so sick of her not being here. This is not what I want to see more of.
People ask for all this point of view from Christina, but the reason that Christina has, like, the writers have clearly chose, and I don't know what happened, but they were clearly choosing to prop Sona. Like, that was happening. It was happening through the acting, it was happening through the story, it was happening through all of that, through like the other characters. And having Christina there actually is counter to propping Sona. So I wonder if we maybe will see her more now, like where there's like a clear split, and like it's not, because like Christina is a wild card, but she certainly wouldn't have liked Nina. Mm-hmm. And we would have seen like the real impacts of what Nina did to Sonny's family if we would have seen point of view on it from Christina and Dante. So actually it was like, in my opinion, like a way to prop Sona that we didn't see her and have her point of view there.
Okay, well, I want to see less of propping Sona.
Found the reframe.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so yeah. Do we have hot takes?
Oh, I still haven't gotten.
You haven't gotten yours.
Yeah. So what I want to see less of is Marcus Coloma. I don't know if you know this about me, but I don't really fuck with him. I know he's barely been on, and like he only had like, a couple, he was on like what, Monday and Friday this week, and it was still too much. I still want to see less of him. I really miss when he was just like a background like actor, like he's been since Spencer said I'm done with you, and then the writers apparently were also done with writing for him, and I loved that. I know I'm being funny. But what I will say is that like what feels so clear to me, it's like with other characters that they've put on ice for whatever reasons, right? Because of overexposure, because of it just like plot wise, it made sense to give them a break. Like when I've been overexposed to them and then they come back, I've been like, oh, oh, okay. I kind of miss this. Cause like with, for example, I'm going to use William Lipton as an example. We got way overexposed to the Cam grief storyline with Franco to the point where it was like overshadowing Liz's grief. It was just too much. He was doing a lot of things that were very unrootable. The quote unquote tension between him and Jocelyn was actually like quite annoying. And so like I was like, damn, I'm really sick of Cam. And this is like all love, like William Lipton, what a sweetie, but damn, I was like, Cam, get out of here. And when they brought him back, there was like some right sizing, and I was like, oh, I missed like what you bring at your best, and I believe that you can bring that. With Marcus, I just felt like we were picking back up from the same old stuff, with him like not really connecting with the material, like not really following the lead of his partner. And that Valentine's Day stuff was just not bringing what they thought it would bring. Like Mora, hot, always so sexy, like, and which just made the lack of presence from Marcus that more stark. Like when I first saw, I was like, oh, see hands being tied up on GH. I was like, okay, GH. And then they were like, showed it was Marcus, and I was like, bleh, boo. I literally booed.
But I was like, damn, Ava, get it. And it makes sense. But
yes.
she was the
she's the
aggressor. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that's without question, but that would be more compelling with Nicholas that actually had the presence for that to be surprising, right? Like a Tyler Christopher, for example.
Yeah, I couldn't see
Tyler subversive for him to be, it would be subversive for him to be the bottom.
Right.
But with Marcus, it's just the same old. And to zoom out, this is how I feel about him. I think Marcus's Nicholas is more compelling dead than alive. I really like, I want Tyler to come back as Nicholas. Like I could still love Nicholas again. But with the current portrayer, I really think because he doesn't add, in fact, detracts from scenes, but he really doesn't add much. They only put him in one-on-one scenes with Mora anymore. Like this one-on-one scene with him and Nicholas Chavez will be the first they've had in a really long time. And like, I just feel like removing Nicholas from the canvas actually would make more compelling story than what he's doing right now. And so, maybe he could be presumed dead while they do a recast. Even if it's not going to be Tyler, or they could just, kill him. That works too. And this is me saying as like a Nicholas fan, like I would rather he just be off the canvas than with the current portrayer. Like it would give Nicholas Chavez amazing material to work with, right? Like if he had not reconciled with Nicholas and then he died, that would be really powerful stuff. It would give Jeannie stuff to do. And also it would make Mora still a Cassadine without having to be with Nicholas. And Ava would still be in control of Spencer's trust fund, which would be really interesting. So that's my pitch. Less Marcus, aka just take him off the canvas. More story for everyone.
I love it. I mean, his burner account did slide into my mentions and I didn't like it.
What did he say?
So his burner account, like, tweeted like a video. It was like hashtag Neva, hashtag Sprina. And I was like, oh no, baby. We don't put these together. The only relationships that we put together are Sprina and Vanna. We don't go to the same place any other time. And so Sandra called it out. Like in the comments, we were just like, so they said something to me like, yes. And I was like, Marcus, chill out. Like, they're like, I'm not Marcus. And then like some, like Marcus, the burner of Marcus's burner, comments, and it was like, I'm a girl. I run this account. And I was like,
okay,
Marcus.
Oh my God. I just did a spit take on my laptop. God damn it.
It's because I just do not believe that somebody likes Beverly Hills Chihuahua enough to create Marcus Coloma world.
It's Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2 and 3, not the first one.
Sorry. Yes, you're right. You're right. I just don't believe it. So I hope that Marcus never gets his burners confused, because sometimes, you know, when I'm switching between the Sunday Shift account and my account, I get confused. And so I understand how it could happen. So I hope that that doesn't happen for Marcus between his Marcus Coloma world burner and the woman who runs Marcus Coloma world burner.
Do you really hope that it doesn't happen?
No, I really hope it does happen. Like, hey, I would love it actually. Just like the burner of Marcus Coloma world, like posting a selfie with like Nicholas Chavez, and like, how you get that? And it was like, oops, my bad. I would love it. I just don't think Marcus has fans like this. I can't, like, and he is the only actor that we really talk about by name. And I just need him to stop singing.
Yep.
Stop.
I love that transition. And, you know, I just need him to stop singing.
I need people to stop hyping him up like, oh, this is a good video. It's not. Don't do that.
So he can do whatever he wants in the privacy of his own home, but don't make me see it.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it.
And with that, let's talk about some hot takes.
Okay, I'll start. Carla and Felix, best friends since when? Remind me. Maybe you could, tell me.
They were pretty decently good friends when like I think earlier when Felix was introduced, right? Like he was introduced as like Sabrina's bestie, or like the person who became Sabrina's bestie back when that was a thing. And so he did have a prior relationship with Carly. They would like confide in each other and like hang out, but they haven't touched that in like a really long time. So I understand why people were like, huh?
Right. And she was like, oh, I haven't seen Taylor's. I'm like, who's Taylor? And if that's the case and she exists, bring her on the show.
I do wonder if that's actually them doing that, like laying the breadcrumbs for it.
Yeah.
Rumors are that she's coming.
Because and I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but hopefully she can be a Trina friend. But I don't know. Maybe she's in college. I don't know. I didn't get it. And then everybody else remember it. So maybe it was a real thing. I don't know.
It wasn't a particularly meaningful thing. I remember it because my brain remembers weird things, but it wasn't, you didn't miss out on anything major.
Yeah. Am I going down my list? I don't know. I enjoyed Ava's glee in the shenanigans. It was great. I enjoyed it. And then Nina talking two sides of the situation. You know, what happened to leaving the man alone in the first minute and then running up in him in the bar and then saying we shouldn't be seen together. And the next minute they're drinking together. Like, I did not get that. And then she's like, Captain Save Everybody, wanting to talk to folks wanting to run after Brooklyn when Brooklyn was upset and wanting to help everybody. I'm just like, no, go away. I'm sorry.
Please don't apologize. As a matter of fact, you're hitting my hot takes off. I'm like, oh, I can delete that one.
Just like, I didn't get it. And then the love scene between Ava and Nicholas was great. I was just like, damn, Ava, get it. I love that. Again, I have to yell out loud. Austin did not tell Victor. Austin did not tell Victor. But I was definitely here for Wheezy and her side eye when they were transferring it off. And she was actually, I should give the performance to that little baby. I don't know, or is it a twin? You know, they usually do two babies, but that little baby, Wheezy Faison, gave some great performances on Monday. I mean, she looked skeptical when they were handing her off. She was crying, like, get these people away from me. I don't know them. And then when Felicia brought her home, she was like, hey, I'm back. I love it. Loved her. So give her props. Wheezy Faison. I didn't understand why Drew was going on the trip. Did not. Michael with his grown man pants on. Yay. Willow. I typed down, Willow, don't sit down with Nina. It's a trap. Because she had her off, and then all of a sudden Nina goes to sit down. I was like, don't sit down, and she sits down. Okay, that's all I had, really.
Oh, yes.
So I loved Felix and Carly. I was like,
I liked it. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I wish that we never lost Felix from the screen. He's like so handsome, he's so personable. Like, give me Felix back. I want it. Damn, Carly, that dress. Okay. I said, give my girl Laura a housekeeper and evict Esme. Right.
Oh, that's the one thing I didn't say. But go ahead. Are you finishing?
No, go ahead.
I was like, Esme needs to take the bass out of her voice when she's talking to Kevin, because I didn't appreciate that at all. Okay, go ahead.
You mean Uncle Kevin? I really appreciated when Felix said, save the soul searching for church. I said, I'm gonna write that down. Phyllis deserves better than these two losers.
Yeah.
By these two losers, I mean Sona. I could never stand. Kevin is always ready to get it in with Laura. Yeah. I love that for her.
She was like, I gotta talk to Trina first, babe. And he was like, okay.
Okay. Stop making Jason and Britt more than what they are. Mm-hmm. And it would also be different, I think, if they like played up the Huntingtons part of it, right? Like, because that was like the compellingness of their bond, that Jason was the only person who knows. I don't even think she talked about this with Brad yet. And so like not having him there means that she's not able to talk about like a really important part that she's scared of herself. That is like one thing. But to like pretend like Britt is like, I'm not gonna have love if I don't have Jason. Jason's with his true love. Jatennal. And if you want to have the wars between Jatennal and Jaharbor, I'm ready for that. You know, like I'm ready to argue that.
I get it. I understand.
I understand. I'm not having the rest of these dick wars with Jason. They showed up on the timeline. I'm like, are we still like talking about 2007? Y'all, let this dick lie. It's gone.
All right.
R.I.P. Pieces. Trina heard up for Bay. Laura called. Trina said, I'll be there. She looked at the phone and made sure Laura was like the right person. Laura calling me? Oh yeah. Yes, I'll be there. And then when she got in, she's like, is he okay? Is he okay?
I'm wrong.
Yeah. Trina was hurried up for Bay. All right. when Esme was like, mental illness is not a joke. It reminded me of The Office when Dwight was like, identity theft is not a joke, Jim. That was like Esme's whole vibe. I was like, woo, all right. I loved the scenes between Liesl and Victor.
Yeah.
Every part, like every single beat, those two, like nobody is doing it like the two of them. It was amazing. I can't even pick out lines because all of the lines were too good. More Liesl and Victor together, please. I loved it. Why do they have Nina creeping around the hospital trying to talk to BLQ? ... Why? Go find some business. Then, oh look, Willow and Nina talking about the job Nina got her fired from.
Word.
And there was like I saw somebody say something like, Nina haters will never think the best of her. And I was like, thank you for saying me. I will never think the best of her. Even in the situation with Willow, I was like, look at her manipulating Willow based on their family. Right. It was really, that's like the thing about her that I wish she would just like lean into is like, you are manipulative. Let's like make that, like, let's not try to play it like you're like this. And you don't have to be like an evil person to be manipulative, but let's call it what it is. Cause like Sonny's sitting there talking to her about his marriage. Like, it's just all too much. Anyway. I am not interested in some contrived breakdown in the relationship between Josh and Trina. If there was like some well done breakdown between them that made sense and was character driven, I'm for it because I think that would like be really great beats for both of them to play. But this is just not handled with care and it's not based in character. The relationship that Josh and Trina have is like the best relationship for me that Josh has on the canvas. And it was also like one of the most appealing things and one of the reasons I would always be like, oh, she's not Minnie Carly because look at how she nurtures this friendship. Mm-hmm. And so like to have it just like disappear or be broken over something stupid, I'm not really interested in that. And I think I will be getting something I'm not interested in. Amanda is doing a great job as BLQ, but I do not feel sorry for BLQ. Mm-hmm. Keep going. Oh, I just feel really bad for Sophia and Johnny for how they extracted performances from them for Dead Baby Christmas. And then we basically have only seen them a handful of times until, you know, Vanna-less Valentine's Day is what I'll call it. Like it's just, there's been no investment in these characters. I'm really interested to see what's happening in the next 2 weeks that like has it so that we need, like, what is it that is so immediate right now that we need a recast of like a temp recast of Sasha with her sister because we haven't seen them. So what is the purpose of a temp recast? I'm interested to see what happens. Give me my Liz DID. I want it. And I'm actually also tired of the Liz is poor as a plot device. So like, this was like the reason that she was like Jax's surrogate. This is like the reason like now she's saying she's picking up more like shifts to get Cam into school. We don't really hear about it until they need like some kind of excuse as to why Liz isn't like on a caper or like whatever. Get her girl some money and let her have a story. That's someone
had tweeted that Franco actually did a lot to secure that they have money, right? Like he took like extra painting shifts or he got insurance. He did all kinds of stuff. So she should have money.
It should be some Franco life insurance somewhere. I mean, I don't know. Right. It's just like a plot point and it's contrived and it actually, you know.
They should have sold his paintings, but instead they're all burned.
Right.
Like that was the other thing where I was like, oh damn, like y'all burn all of Franco's paintings, which is like both emotionally devastating for this family and financially. Yeah. My God, what the hell?
Yeah. Yep. What was the point of killing Luke off screen? None of his kids are around. I mean, I don't really fuck with any of Luke's kids right now except for Ethan, but what has been the real fallout? Like, so it was like to bring Tracey in and then just like pause any other storyline. Like we haven't even mentioned him being dead since Tracey left. Like, what was the point?
Yeah, and that one lady that came back from the dead,
Jennifer Smith. Oh, she wasn't dead. She was
I mean,
just.
she's just dead. I'm like, why did she just? What was the point?
I don't get it. Hopefully we'll get it soon, but it just didn't make any sense. Maybe it was just around scheduling. I don't know. Oh, last one. Do not have my Samantha McCall defending the police. I don't like it.
Yeah, it was funny. It sounded like she was trying to defend Dante, but it was really like the police.
Yeah. Defend your man who happens to be a cop. Don't defend the police, Sam. You know better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On to you, Sandra.
I really loved, I forgot to mention this about the Laura and Trina scene. I loved the throwback to the scene in the park for Sprina.
Yeah.
When it's like my favorite early Sprina scene. And it's the "who's your favorite impressionist" line has always like stuck out to me as both like a line I laugh about and also like that I really, really love. Because it shows how much, like, of course there's like the physical attraction between them, which Nicolas Chavez, talks about all the time, the deep, deep physical attraction between them, but also that there's that both Trina understands what it is that Spencer actually values, which I thought was so sweet, and also that Spencer understands and like hangs on her every word, like he remembers everything, as a Dawson's Creek reference, and how the emotional intimacy that we got to see between them, even though they were not on screen together. So it's like another great example of how Sprina has chemistry when they're not even together. And I just want to, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and that like he clearly had to like work all these extra shifts. Like that book was not cheap.
No,
that
art
was a coffee table art book, hardcover. Okay, that shit was expensive. So I just like see little Spencer picking up extra shifts at Kelly's and being like super nice so he can get a good tip so that he can buy Trina this book. And Uncle Victor sent Esme flowers.
Right. Like the contrast between Trina and Esme we see again in the gifts, right? Like Spencer using Victor as the emissary for Esme's gift, which is expensive and impersonal, which is their relationship, which is expensive and impersonal. And then Trina using Laura as the emissary for that gift and what that means, because like Laura's also, the most important person to Spencer besides Trina, and like what it meant for him to organize this gift on his own, pay for it on his own, and then entrust it to the most trustworthy person in his life. And I just also want to like shout out the Nicolas Chavez's performance from this week, and like the growth we're seeing from him overall. Like I talked a little bit about how his performance of Spencer is like really psychological. It's very intellectual, like the way that he talks about his work is very intellectual. And I would say his one growth edge that I have noted, and it's not like anything that's glaring, right? But it's just as like observing his performance over time and how it's changed, is like the physicality of Spencer has always been the growing edge for him. Like there's been some stiffness in his performances sometimes, right? From a physical perspective. And I love the growth we've actually seen with him around that. And I thought it was like really exemplified in the way that he is with Esme versus the way that he is with Trina, or when he's talking about Trina. Like the way he was so like hunched over when he was with Esme on Valentine's Day was hilarious. It said more than any lines that Spencer could have about how he feels about Esme, because he doesn't get to actually process. The closest he's come to actually processing how he really feels about Esme was with Trina.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it wasn't completely transparent. But you can see from the way his body is how he feels about Esme. And I think that's been a really important part of his shift in his storytelling. Yeah. And even like the way he was like with Laura talking about Trina, because it wasn't actually Laura who stopped the conversation about Trina. It was Spencer. He used it to pivot because he's actually not, that's too vulnerable for him.
And he pivoted into talking about Victor, which he knew was gonna like shut off that conversation.
Exactly. And even the way that he is, like, you can tell now that there's a difference also between the physicality between the way he is with Laura and Victor too. With, you know, like I just, so I'm appreciating that kind of like small detail about the way that Nicholas is approaching the character. And then for Chillin, so here's what I'm realizing about Chillin. I actually want them to succeed. I want their pairing to be successful because I think that it's a pairing that's actually the kind of pairing that they could be, that they have the potential to be, is important to the show. For the age range, I think for when they are really good, right? When they're in the kind of like, they're more like comedic, kind of slapstick romantic comedy vibe, like that's needed on the show. They actually have a story, even though I don't love the story, like that's helped them a lot. Like I think, for example, Sasha and Brando, they're suffering because their story was so intense and without a lot of support, like scaffolding, but also like, you know, it's a dead end story. And so I think like I actually do want to see Chillin succeed. They look great together. Like they're both very beautiful people. They look amazing together. But they're just not there. There's something about the rhythm, right? Like I was like, what is it about Chillin that like isn't working? And I feel like they rush through their beats. Like, you know, for example, Jeannie Francis, and I think it was in this week's Soap Opera Digest, there was a little bit where she talked about crying on the show. And that when she receives a script where the stage direction is Laura cries, she crosses it out with a big black marker. Because to her, it gets her too much in her head about crying. And so either the crying is going to happen or it's not, based on what's actually happening in the scene and the performance when she gives it. And I think everyone's process is really different. But what I appreciated about that insight is that like you can rehearse something, you can have it in your mind that it's going to be a certain way or it should be a certain way because of the way that the beats are laid out in the story. And like, I often don't feel like they're present with, it's like, I can see like the stage directions in their performance. And I think that their comedic timing is great. And I think especially Amanda has amazing comedic timing. I wish that they would work on their dramatic timing. And I wish that they would take more time in their scenes to really feel what it is that their characters are feeling. I just feel like I wanted, with this last scene where they almost kiss, like I wanted Amanda to slow down and really like eat that scene up, because I know that she can, but there's just something that feels a little disconnected. So it's like, I'm still like, I'm not on the Chillin ship. I don't know that I ever will like be on the ship, right? But I do want to see them succeed. So I know y'all are not asking, Josh and Amanda are not asking me for notes, and that's fine. But my note would be like, slow down, babies, slow down and feel it. because we do need, like, they are the third best pairing, I think, on the show, which also speaks to the show needs better, more and better pairings too.
Damn, they are the third best pairing. I think that they could benefit. I don't know. Sandra and I are taking acting classes. And so one of the things, they're on Zoom. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was that we will like run a scene and then the teacher will like say, okay, that was good. And why don't you try these things? And because soaps are like, one take or two takes, they actually don't get that. And so I don't know if there's like something they could do in like a practice, because it's not that they are bad. It is that they can't just rely on chemistry. They actually have to like play the beats. And so like, to your point, like I saw the difference. Like there were things that like a Nicholas Chavez, for example, does that lets you know that Trina is the one. He could be like hugging Esme and you still know, oh no, he's looking at Trina.
Right.
And with Josh, like I definitely saw the difference, because like even when they were friends, people were like, they have chemistry. I was like, I don't see that. And so I did see like the switch of me being like, oh, okay, now I see this chemistry. But it was like definitely like a stage direction that's like, you like her now. You know what I'm saying? Like Chase and Brooklyn get romantic. Like it's very clearly like the direction. And I think they could like benefit from like running it with somebody else who could be like, okay, all of this and then change this one thing, because they really only need to change like one or two things to make them more compelling for me.
Right. That's the difference between like, if they were doing this on prime time, they would get that kind of attention, right? And the opportunity to redo. But, they get probably one read through with the director before they shoot, and then they get one take, unless someone just either on the technical side or on the acting side just really fucks up horribly bad, and then you get a second take. But that's really the only reason you get a second take. If you just did a meh job, they're going to keep going. So it's like definitely not, it's complex. It's like, I want them to do well, and here are some concrete ways that I have identified. Chilean fans, I'm not on your ship, but I am on your side. How about that?
How generous of you. Because there is a difference. Like when I talk about Chilean, I'm never like, I could never stand. Like I don't say that. Like I say about Sona, because I could never stand. But like, there's some things that they can do.
Yeah, for sure.
Not important.
I want them to do well.
Me too. They're also very beautiful.
They are. Their gifts, beautiful.
Yep.
That's it.
Do you have some predictions for us?
Yeah, a little. I'm going to keep it brief, but this week is allegedly the end of PD August, of Theater August, of Pete Ramsey, of Parking Lot Peter, of, am I missing anything? Theater August, did I already say that? Anyway.
You did, but it's my favorite, so say it twice.
So we know that there's like a few, there's a lot of irons on the fire right now. So Anna is in Switzerland and she has Dante and Drew with her. She's also told, Drew has said, shoot me if you need to, which is kind of hot. And sorry, Anna fan stuff. And then we also have Victor pulling the strings. We know that he has one of the agents, at least one of the agents on his payroll. And he said, we got to make sure to keep Drew Lavery alive. However, Anna and Dante are expendable, which. And then we also have Maxie, setting things up, like setting a trail, and also trying to orient herself to her surroundings. And like, she's obviously trying to figure out a way to escape, but also, well, I don't know what else she's planning. And then we have Felicia, who is landing, who has also put together the pieces of where Peter is in the Swiss Alps. So we know that this is probably the end for Peter. God, I really hope it's the end. Who do we think does it? And or who do we want to do it? And what collateral damage do we think happens along the way?
Well, I think that they're gonna bring back Wes Ramsey as a long lost twin. No,
Don't speak that.
No, don't put that into existence.
I just want it to be Anna. Like, I feel like she deserves to be able to be the one who pulls the trigger. I feel like she's had to put up with the most shit and fallout that wasn't her fault as a result of Peter. And so I want it to be Anna.
Yeah, I agree. I want it to be Anna, and I wish Valentine was there, but he's not. So
that's Tonya's collateral damage. Valentine wasn't there. Yeah, I also want it to be Anna. I think it's the full circle moment that we need. She's also just been dragged so unfairly about Peter, even though she's had to suffer with thinking that Peter was her son with Faison. That's punishment enough, y'all. And that, like, the reason why she continued to support Peter, even though she shouldn't have, maybe, right? She shouldn't have from like a logical perspective, was because she has empathy. But whatever, what do I know? Oh, okay. I obviously have some feelings about that. I think it would also be satisfying if it was Maxine. Personally, even though I've been annoyed as hell at Maxine, and maybe she doesn't necessarily deserve it the way that Anna, I think, deserves to kill Peter. She did have to suffer under his reign, both like as his fiance and as, the person that he's been terrorizing and stalking. So I'm never going to be mad about, someone getting to murder their abusive ex. Never. I'd always be excited about that. I do wonder who's going to get hurt along the way. And I would love it if Anna has to shoot Drew. I mean, personally, I would love that. Not because of any way I feel about Cameron Matheson, he'll be fine. But just that they set up that arrangement, I want them to follow through and like for Peter to activate Drew and that be a complication that happens. And like what that might also open up some more interesting stuff for Drew in the future, and I could see that being a way that Victor actually finds out how to actually activate Drew if his mole or whatever sees how Peter does it.
Yeah, the only collateral damage I want to happen is if it moves forward Victor's plot. So if that's the case, if Drew getting shot or activated kind of helps us get a clue as to why Victor's here, then I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I just want Peter to be dead and let's just move on. Just kill him. They all go back home. We live happily ever after. There.
Yeah, a day player could walk on and kill Peter, and I'd be like, well, great. Give him an Emmy.
Y'all have great priorities. I wholeheartedly endorse these point of views. Yes. Official podcast point of view. Thank you. Okay, and then let's just talk a little bit about the kids. So we have Spencer and Nicholas connecting on Monday, right? And then also we have Trina and Joss reconnecting on Monday. Then we have Joss and actually, I don't know if there's a Joss spoiler for Tuesday. I don't have it right in front of me. Oh, damn. But we have on Tuesday, Trina feels ignored. And then we have Esme spoilers on both days. So Laura and Esme, Laura sets Esme straight. And there's also like a preview scene that's out about Laura being like, I'm tired of your ass. And then on Tuesday, Esme covers by lying. So what I want, or what I think is going to, it's both what I want and what I think is going to happen. I think that Trina is going to actually try to talk to Joss about Spencer. And for whatever reason, she's not able to. And I could see that happening, going a few ways. I could see Joss just being caught up in her own shit and ranting about Nina and or Esme. I could also see her being like dismissive of Spencer, and that being a reason why Trina actually is like, I'm not going to tell you the truth about what happened. But either way, I don't actually think that Joss is going to know about the almost kiss between Trina and Spencer, because it's also part of like the tension they're trying to build between Joss, Cam, and Trina would make even less sense. It already doesn't make sense, but it would make absolutely negative 100 sense if they were to bring up Spencer again and like Trina's feelings, because Trina hasn't talked to her about her feelings about Spencer to Joss since right before they found out that he was arrested. And even then, Joss changed the subject and started talking about Nina. So I think that there will be another parallel situation, because for whatever reason, even though these two live together, that's the other piece that feels very strange about the rift between the two of them. It was like, y'all really aren't talking about your relationships in any kind of depth. Like, what do y'all talk about? Y'all live together. I'm very confused. And so I'm hoping that what happens actually is that there's going to be a unspoiled Sprina scene on Tuesday. Trina feels ignored and therefore she goes to see Spencer. Because it's also like we've been doing a lot of Trina Esme parallels. We've already seen Esme visit him and how that went. And so I would love to see Trina bring the things that she talked about with Laura, right? The poetry books and the art, because she knows that the art is healing and that's actually what Spencer needs.
And his headphones.
And his headphones, because he needs the music. He did say that he was fine in prison, but he was bored and restless. So he needs to channel his feelings into art.
At least he's an artist.
At least he's an artist.
I am the one who like actually wanted him to get all the things that Esme brought. I was like, bring my child his fancy creams and his colognes. Like, he needs these things in Camp Prison. He needs them. So thank you to Trina for thinking beyond even me.
So I think Esme, she's going to the cabin, right? Because she has to retrieve that damn video.
That may have happened off screen. Because she said she was going to go the next day. And I think that day already happened or is mostly over. So I don't know, but maybe we'll see her. Maybe she runs into Joss and Trina, and that's part of like their interaction is her being like, I actually need to go get mine and Spencer's stuff. And
I thought her getting it was like probably was going to be the reason she was late to see Laura, but maybe not.
Maybe.
Who knows with her crazy ass? Who knows?
Yeah, because it's not like it's her cabin. So how she would get access to it unless she ran into Jocelyn and said, hey, I need to go back.
Yeah. And that could be a good reason for them to like get into it and treat it.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck both
It's
of
the
you.
same way
I'm not interested.
it's the same way that Willow's been making it through her whole life without a birth certificate.
Even though I don't really want to see a kind of sexual harassment thing happening with this video, but I'm just still kind of curious about what her main goal is. It's not just to be with Spencer. She's here for a reason, and I want to know what that is.
I want the reason to be blackmail.
Right. Or I want to know, like, yeah, I'm actually really interested in what Esme is up to, whether it's she has a plot with Ryan, or Ryan's her dad, or there's a reason why she really hates Ava, or I just want to know what that is too. I do love how the snark and all that good stuff, and folks coming at her sideways. I love it, but I still just kind of want to know what's going on.
She's Nina's daughter.
Nina's real daughter.
Stop. I will say there's one more little spoiler thing that's like unconfirmed. Well, it's confirmed that Rail is back filming as Taggart. That is confirmed. He posted a spoiler that is, I don't know how much of that is actually confirmed, or he's just like, I saw the spoiler and I thought it was interesting, so I reposted it. But it says that that Taggart ends up running a background check on Esme, and that's part of how they find out more about what she's up to. And it just had me going like, what in the hell kind of rich ass family are the Cassidines that they did not run a background check on her after she set Ava's car on fire? I mean, you're thinking like, y'all are, I'm assuming, billionaires, right? Like Jax and Carly and Sonny like are like collectively billionaires, and they're supposed to be on par with the Cassidines. What kind of billionaires don't have that kind of vigilance around who their heir is partnered with?
Right.
It just like speaks to how bad of bad of an uncle Sonny is right now. Like I was like really bad. I was like, Victor is like getting closer to Spencer, and Sonny doesn't show up to be like, hold on, you cared enough to fight him in a damn bar, but you're not gonna show up for you anyway. But let me not get on my Sonny hate. But yeah, I just don't understand. Even Kevin, like, you have concerns and questions about her. Like, why wouldn't you, knowing that she's like obsessed with Ryan, be like, okay, where's this girl coming from? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. It's another like plot driven like thing that doesn't make any sense. But what I do hope, if it does turn out that Trina is biologically Curtis's, that this like dovetails into that story, that Esme's like backlash for what happened like causes her to like expose. I think that would be interesting.
Oh, that would be very interesting. So hopefully more of that ahead in the coming month or so. That's all I got. There's other things, but those felt like the two most important things.
Well, do we have any other hot takes for the good of the order before we close out?
I am complete.
Free Spencer.
Free Spencer.
Free Spencer.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bring back Valentine.
Bring back Valentine.
That's right.